In today's video, we will be talking about React error boundaries. In the past, if we got any JavaScript errors inside components, it corrupts the React internal state and puts React in a broken state on next renders. There is no way to handle these errors in React component, nor it provides any method to recover from them. But React 16 introduced a new concept to handle the errors by using the error boundaries. Now, if any JavaScript error is found in a part of the UI, it does not break the whole app. Error boundaries are React component which catch JavaScript errors anywhere in our app, log those errors and display a fallback UI. It does not break the whole app component tree and only renders the fallback UI whenever an error occurs in a component. Error boundaries catch errors during rendering in component lifecycle methods and constructors of the whole tree below them. It does not break the whole app component. So this is one of the major points that you have to remember, and it only renders the fallback UI. So whenever an error will occur in the component, then only the fallback UI will be re-rendered, not the whole app. Another important thing which you must know is that sometimes it is not possible to catch error boundaries in a React application. The error boundaries catch errors during rendering in component lifecycle methods and constructors of the whole tree below them. So when are the situations when it is not possible to catch the error boundaries in React application? So we will be looking at those specific points. So what are these situations? They are as follows. So the first one is event handlers. The second one is asynchronous code. For example, set timeout or request animation frame callbacks. The third one is server-side rendering. We will be looking at server-side rendering in detail in some other video, but you should know about it in short. The last and the foremost point is errors are thrown in the error boundaries itself rather than its children. So in these four cases, it is not possible to catch error boundaries in React application. So for simple React apps, we can declare an error boundary once and we can use it for the whole application. For a complex application, we will have multiple components and we declare multiple error boundaries to recover each part of the entire application. We report the error to an error monitoring service like rollbar. This monitoring service provides the ability to track how many users are affected by errors, find causes of the errors, and at the end improve the user experience. The whole concept of React and non-refreshing user web pages is to improve the user experience. So error boundaries add to that. Next, we are going to talk about error boundaries in class. So a class component can become an error boundary if it defines a new life cycle method So the life cycle method can be either static get derived from state or component did catch. Component did catch method takes two arguments. The first one is the error and the second one is the info or the information. We can use static get derived state from error method to render a fallback UI. So it is used to render a fallback UI when an error has been thrown and the component did catch method will be used to log error information. So both of these methods will be used, as we will see one of the coding techniques. We will see the syntax. So here we will understand both these methods. Error boundaries can't catch the error within itself. If the error boundary fails to render the error message, the error will go to the closest error boundary above it. So this is how the error boundary works. It is similar to the catch block in JavaScript. So whenever the error boundary fails to render the error message within a component, then the error will not be failing the UI, or it will not cause a problem, but it will go to the closest error boundary above it. That is, it will go to the parent component. Whichever parent component is the closest and has an error boundary, that is going to handle the error. Like in JavaScript or any other code, we have the try and catch block. So here it is the catch block. Now we will be talking about how to implement error boundaries. That is the implementation of error boundaries. This includes mainly 4 steps. The first step is create a class which extends a React component and passes the props inside it. Step number 2, now add component did catch method, which allows us to catch error in the components below them in the tree. Step number 3, next add render method, which is responsible for how the component should be rendered. For example, it will display the error message like something went wrong or we have an error. The fourth step is that now we can use it as a regular component. Add the new component in HTML which we want to include in the error boundary. Next, where to place the error boundaries? Is there a perfect place to code or place the error boundaries? Where should I keep it? So an error boundary entirely depends on the user. You can use error boundaries on the top level of the app component or wrap it on the individual components to prevent them from breaking the other parts of the app. Next, we will talk about the new behavior for uncaught errors. It is an important implication related to error boundaries. If the error does not catch by an error boundary, it will result in unmounting of the whole React application. Next, error boundaries in event handlers. Error boundaries do not allow catching errors inside event handlers. React does not need any error boundary to recover from errors in the event handler. If there is a need to catch errors in the event handler, you can use JavaScript try catch statement. So this was all about the theory and the main points that you should know about React error boundaries. Now let us see how we code the error boundaries. So in my components folder, I am going to create a file named errorboundary.js. As we have discussed, this is a class component. So using RCE, I am going to create my class component, and then we will be writing our code. So first I am going to add my constructor with props and add the super keyword, again passing props, and then this dot state is assigned to a property has error, which is initially set to false. After this, we will add the static get derived state from error method, and here we will be passing the error as an argument. This method is going to update the state, so the next render shows the fallback UI. So here we will just return has error property changed to true. Now we will be adding the component did catch method, and we will pass the error and info as the argument. This method will catch error in any component below, and we can also log the error to an error reporting service. So log error to my service, and we will pass the error and info as the argument. Now in the return, we will add a statement so either we can add an h1, or we are leaving the heading to error boundaries, and then inside an h1 we will display something went wrong. And we will also have another return statement where we will return this dot props dot children. So here we will be checking for the error using an if statement. So after the render, I will add an if statement where it is going to check if this dot state dot has error. If that is true, so then it will return something went wrong. Otherwise, it is going to return this dot props dot children. So currently we haven't added any other component, so this is not going to give us any output, and it is just going to show some errors. But you can use this according to your application, and then this will work pretty fine.
So that is it for today's video. I'll see you in the next video.